everything in there. We can all use review statistics. Let's start with mean, median, mode, percentiles, quartiles. Mean, I always remember by saying average. Mean, average. They mean the exact same thing. Find the average of some data. Median, my always way to remember median was middle. The middle of data. There's a little trick, especially if you're doing it manually and not using Excel, there's a little trick based on whether you have even or odd amount of data, but it's the middle. And then mode, for me, my little phrase I always to remember mode was most. Because it's whatever piece of data appears the most. Now, we're about to use some data, and I think there's like 70 of them, I can't remember. 70. But you got to remember, in real life, you could have hundreds of data, and you just can't look at it to see which one appears the most. You got to rely on, this would be the situation where maybe you would use a count if, or some kind of Excel to go and count them all and figure out which one is there the most. So, we're going to go over these kind of fast. Unless you want to slow down, just let me know. Let's start with, the scenario is somebody's looking at a college town, they're trying to figure out how much apartment's going to be per month. So instead of calling all these apartments, let's say it's a big town like Ann Arbor, you're thinking about Ann Arbor, instead of calling a whole bunch of apartments, they said we're going to get a random sample to see what the average rent would be for a similar apartment. Maybe this is a studio, maybe it's a one-bedroom, I don't know. And they called 70 of them, hey, how much is your rent? How much is your rent? To get a sample, because there's thousands available at the beginning of the school year. And here's the 70, but they're putting together a budget, and they want to see what the average could be. Kind of look at those numbers. My question for you is, does it jump out at you at all which is the lowest amount and which is the highest amount at all? Kind of hard, because they're all mixed all over. And in statistics, this is a very common problem. So in my experience, we always take the data and we put it in ascending order from smallest to largest or largest to smallest, either way. It makes it much more evident then what's the smallest amount, what's the largest number in your data, and things like that. Now, if I wanted to find the mean, if I said to you, find the mean, the setup would be what? Adding all these together and dividing by however many there are. That's right. And we would use count to count that there's 70 there maybe if we were using Excel. But yeah, it would just be showing me that it's all of them added together divided by however many there were. It's too easy. We add them all together, 34,356. We divide it by 70 numbers. The average rent, based on the sample, is about $490.80 a month, about. And this really works. The sampling thing does, as long as you got a big enough sample. If this were a real town and we really did call 70 of them, you'd be shocked if you had a chance then to get a hold of every apartment that's like the apartment you're doing. You would find the average will end up being around 490. Maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, but darn close. That's how well sampling works in real life. So just so you know, this is good stuff. It really does work. So finding the mean is real easy. Let's talk about the median, the middle. What I want you to remember about median is the difference when you have even data compared to odd data, especially if you're doing it by hand. This question's on a test. You probably only got maybe 7 or 6 pieces of data that tell me the median. To find the middle, you've got to put this in order from either smallest to largest or largest to smallest. So here we are with how many? 7 observations. But we quickly took it and put it in order from smallest to largest. And we said if there's 7, the center would be right in the middle with the same amount to the left and the same amount to the right. And with 7, it would be 3 to the left and 3 to the right. That one right in the middle, it's pretty obvious. But when there's an even amount of data, it's not so obvious. You can't get it right there on a piece of data. So instead, you find the 2 middles. Again, if we take 19 and 26, we have 3 to the left and 3 to the right, and 2 numbers are in the middle because it evens. You add the 2 middle numbers on an even data, divide by 2, and find the average of it. And that's how you find the median with even. That's the difference that I want you to remember. Even data versus odd data. Me, accidentally? So 19 plus 26 divided by 2. So if we took, anyway, find the middle. You guys know what to do. Median for this one, 70 of them. Out of 70, we realize the 35th and 36th, because it's an even amount of data, the very center, they're both 475, so we don't have to do any math. It's pretty easy. But let's pretend they're not. You'd add one and the other and divide by 2. 475 plus 475 divided by 2 is 475, so this one was pretty easy. Mole. Now, I used to like what are called scatter, scatter plot graph or scatter plot, because then the one with the most dots, it's pretty obvious, it jumps out of you. But in this case, you got to sit there and go, what you would do in real life when you have 70 pieces of data. You go, okay, I see 450 a lot, but look, I see 490 several times, I see 500. You might just do count if, and then count every 450 and come up with a number. Count every 500. You could do several of them that you see several of them there, and then you can know exactly how many. What I want you to remember with this is not just which piece of data appears the most, but what if there's 2 pieces of data that are tied for the most. That's called bimodal. And if there's more than 2, like 3 or 4 that are tied for the most, that's called multimodal. I think that's in this PowerPoint. Let me make sure. There it is. If there's 2 tied, bimodal, little definition I think you may want to kind of remember. Multimodal, little definition, means there was more than 2 that were tied, 3 or more that were tied for the most.